y'all need to stop taking crumbs. UGC creators need to stop taking crumbs. And you make it harder for content creators and for influencers who do this on a day-to-day, day in, day out to make the proper amount that they should be making.
Period.
Hi, I'm Crystal Vega.
Hi, I'm Amanda Booz, and welcome to Elevators Podcast, where we talk about the peaks and valleys of life's journey, from relationships, friendships, entrepreneurship, and a little taste of social media sizzling hot topics, all through the lens of modern womanhood. And y'all know why y'all are here, okay?
Period.
You know why you came and you tapped on this video.
To be entertained.
To be entertained, but also by women who are just all about elevating in all aspects of our lives. From everything that we do, everything that Crystal and I talk about, we're trying to elevate, okay? When it relates to working out, we're trying to elevate. When we're talking about entrepreneurship and like our work, we're trying to elevate. We're talking about ways we can grow. And also when it relates to social media, we're trying to elevate in all areas as we create content. And I have to give my girl a shout out because she is growing on TikTok. Yes.
I love TikTok. My TikTok fam. I love you guys so much.
I love y'all too. Y'all show me some more love.
Welcome to the party. Hey, welcome to the party.
Hey.
No, literally, I've been growing so much on TikTok.
You
and
really
it makes
have.
me so excited. TikTok just gives you the ability and like the platform to just like do your thing, you know, like be you, do your thing. And I feel like because the platform was so new, like everybody was really starting from scratch and just seeing what worked versus Instagram, where it's like pictures, this aesthetic, that aesthetic. Even like certain things that I post on TikTok, I'm like, I'm not posting this on Instagram because I just know it's not going to do well. It's just a different vibe over there. But on TikTok, we're having fun, baby.
Yes.
So yeah, I've been growing on TikTok a lot.
Congratulations.
And I love that. Thanks, girl. 1 million, here we come.
I know that's right.
By next year.
I'm working it. I'm trying to get the numbers moving. I have to shift mine a bit, and Crystal's definitely been helping me out.
I've been on your...
You really have, and we're doing better because we have so much coming up for the summer that I can't wait to share. I want to be a little bit more on socials, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but you and I have been having this conversation about content creators versus influencers, and it's also a very interesting space for us because of our background in media and television as well. But this has been like an ongoing debate on social media.
Yeah, I was just about to say, this is a conversation that everybody has been having this last month. I feel like everybody has been talking about the difference between a content creator and an influencer. And for those of you who might not know the difference, we're going to break it down.
Let's do the definition, because I have the definition.
The breakdowns.
So let's do the definition.
First and foremost, before we give you the background of like why this conversation is even happening, and it's important. So go ahead, hit it.
The definition. So by definition, this was on the internet, okay? A content creator is a creator responsible for the ideation of creating content that connects a brand or an entity to its prospective audience. Content creators produce work on a variety of different platforms, including social media, blogs, podcasts, as we're on right now, video platform, case studies, and so much more. It's content. Literally what you consume, what you listen to, what you read, that's content. Now, an influencer, by definition, is someone who basically, you know what? I'm gonna break it down a little bit more in layman terms. Content creators get paid to produce content. So they are making videos, they're making audio, they're literally, like I said, books, content, things that you consume streaming wise. Influencers are people, as the term, have influence. So they technically get paid for the influence. That's the people who gravitate towards them, to look up to them, fans. Beyonce, by example, is an influencer. Like, she influences her audience to buy tickets. She creates content, but she doesn't necessarily have to create content.
Shh. I'm a
And maybe you
respectfully disagree because
but I also wait, hold on. This is gonna be a debate. I was trying to give you guys like the Webster dictionary version of influencer and content creator. And I actually think that there's some ways that they all kind of mesh together. By the way,
it's
an
really
influencer, a person who
numbers.
inspires or guides the action of others to do something.
But you see, that's funny because a content creator could also do the same thing.
Absolutely. And I think there's also an element that we're missing because I think we serve a special audience that's the two combined, which are married together. And in my opinion, that's a lifestyle creator or a lifestyle influencer or a lifestyle.
Like, I think content creating.
It is, but I think that there's a pillar that's missing. And for me, that's lifestyle creators. Like, I think there's influencers, there's content creators, and then I think there's a missing element, and I think it's a lifestyle creator. But we could break that down a little bit more. I want you to get your point.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say about Beyonce is that, like, granted, it's very funny, but she's a good example of, like, an influencer not necessarily being able to influence. Because a lot of times, and this is actually why the conversation has come up on social media about influencers versus content creators, because sometimes, for example, we use Beyonce as an example, an influencer, somebody who has such power like her hair care is not doing that well. You get what I'm saying? So, like, are you an influencer? Yeah, you're an influencer, but, like, in the music industry, you're not an influencer in the hair industry. Will somebody buy a product from a content creator before they do Beyonce? Yes. So
I disagree. Here's why I disagree. I'm going to be honest. I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. Absolutely. Freedom of speech. It's an amendment, right? Like, I think everybody
Where are you going with this?
No, I think everybody can say how they feel. But I think there's too many definitions of influencer and content creator. And I think what it boils down to is at any scale, someone can influence you. So, like, you saying Beyonce not being able to have sales, I mean, as it breaks down to purchases, people are still buying. Like, you can post something on your Instagram story and I can love it and I could want to buy it. You influenced me in some capacity. So I think that there's level of influence, like where it breaks down to nano influencer, micro influencer, macro influencer, like as far as like your size on social media. And I can even break that down further to tell you guys what specific numbers would be to make you those categories. But I just feel like she may not be selling at the rate that people want her to sell, but she is influencing because of who she is.
No, she's not selling it at any rate, to be honest. Like, she's selling it, granted, like, because people are trying the product, but that's another thing. Selling versus having reoccurring buyers are two different things. It's also a completely different conversation.
Right.
But, like, for me, a content creator is somebody who creates content in many different ways. They can create content about their day. They can create content about their lifestyle. They can create content, whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, they can create the content. An influencer, to me, is a content creator, but more so based on their number and their social following. To me, there's no difference in the work. The more you become an influencer, when you have like 1 million followers and stuff, the work becomes less for you.
Very true.
Way less for you versus a content creator who's putting in more work. So there's been like this whole conversation about like, what's the difference between a content creator and an influencer? And people are talking about it on social media. For me, it's just a numbers thing because they both do the same thing. But the influencer ends up, because you're at a certain point, you're doing so many more brand deals and stuff like that. I think the difference is the workload and the actual social media following. Nonetheless, an influencer at one point was a content creator. That's it. But I like to use Beyonce as an example because she's somebody who has a massive world following. So she automatically, to your point, is an influencer. She can influence people in different ways.
Right.
But again, me personally, I would listen to a content creator about certain things more so than an influencer because an influencer has a brand deal.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So the whole conversation came up because people were talking about the difference. And for me, I just felt like, honestly, the conversation alone does a disjustice for everybody. Yeah. Who's making content, because now you're giving brands the opportunity to go back and say, okay, we're looking for an influencer, not a content creator, right? Like, for the content creators, they're going to be stuck in the mud, trying to figure it out. And we've seen that in a different realm in our work as entertainment hosts,
Yeah.
how influencers have like trumped
Yeah.
that area. I don't want to jump, but like
No, yeah, because I was like, I feel like we both, and it's very interesting because we both see, and we said this from the beginning of the season, and we literally have similar perspectives, but from a different lens. So for your by way of your definition, I think the total opposite. Like, I feel like an influencer, again, is someone who has influence, right? And I think at any scale, it doesn't have to be, it is a numbers thing, but it doesn't have to be. Like, if someone can get you to leave your home to go to Target to buy a tennis skirt because you've seen it on their story, you were influenced. Like, if you're influenced to do anything by way of definition, that's an influencer. But again, that has scales. So it's like you have influencers who have millions of followers that can get someone to buy something by the boatload versus someone who is a micro or a nano influencer who probably can get somebody to buy a couple things from their LTK link. And if you don't know what an LTK link, it's like to know it. It's where people put their fashion. It doesn't even have to be fashion. It could be like just links where you can actually go and support creators. But for me, I feel like a content creator, influencers do the same thing, but there are content creators who not necessarily want to pursue to be an influencer. You have photographers who create content. You have construction workers who are influencers. You have, like, you know what I mean? Like, in any capacity, any field, any nature.
No, I agree. I think you can have influence for sure.
I feel like, honestly, what I do agree with what you were saying is I don't like how they're being separated, because I feel like influencers have to create content. I feel like content creators want to create content. So it's like a difference there.
No, and content creators have extreme influence. To be honest, in my opinion, content creators have more influence.
Yeah, I agree.
That's just my opinion.
I agree.
Because like I said, for example, Beyonce, who's a major worldwide influence in the scale of like hair
more
care,
genuine.
She didn't do that well, right? So like, does she really have influence? Yes, she does, just not in the hair care world, right? But I would listen to a content creator about what works for her because it's a little more relatable. It's a little more like down to earth and a little more day to day for me, right?
I agree, yeah. So you know what? I want to pick it up really quick. Beyonce, with her hair care line, because you mentioned the hair care line, Rihanna just recently launched her hair care line, which I personally don't know the numbers yet, and I love Beyonce. I didn't even know about.
That's crazy.
Fenty hair. I love Beyonce, love Rihanna, but I will say I think Rihanna is going to probably be a little bit more authentic in that space because of the brand identity she built with Fenty, with the makeup line, with Fenty Beauty, with the skin line. She actually gets in there, uses her products. She has her man using the products. Like, I'm sure she's gonna have the kids using the hair shampoo. Like, she's gonna be an advocate for her brand and speak on it and not just necessarily be a face. And I think that some people feel like that's the disconnect with Beyonce and her brand, but that's a whole nother topic. But I feel like both women are super dope, super amazing, both equally doing it big. But I do feel like Rihanna in that space is going to be a little bit more genuine and authentic with using the product and showing us how she uses it in her everyday life. But like, just getting back to like the subject at hand, like I feel like both an influencer and a content creator, I don't necessarily like the fact that they are being separated, because I do agree with you in that standpoint that brands will probably look at it like, yeah, we want an influencer versus a content creator. But I think, and then there's also UGC, which is user generated content, which are people who they just like it. They just like it. They just like it. Yeah. I do think that we need to stop creating so many different sub tiers of like what it is. We all just are using the social media.
I also think that y'all need to stop taking crumbs. Like, UGC creators need to stop taking crumbs. And you make it harder for content creators and for influencers who do this on a day-to-day, day in, day out, to make the proper amount that they should be making.
Period. I agree.
Big period.
I agree. I think that we have to really know our worth. Like, know if this is the last thing that you had to create, the last thing that you had to make, the last money you were going to make, how much would you want that brand to pay you? I just feel like you should get paid what you want to get paid within reason.
No, not even what you want to get paid. It's what's in the market.
What's in the market? Within reason. Like, based on your numbers, based on your reach and your insights, within reason, you should get paid the amount you should. But also, like you said, don't accept crumbs, because you make it harder for the next creator to come up and to also want to make more.
Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting because I do feel like you and I are on a different spectrum as it relates to this. Me personally, this is how I feel. I feel like I know I was saying the sub tier and the subjects we need to kind of get with not having them, but we're from entertainment television. We're in a different landscape in the sense of like
it was
force.
Sink or swim.
Yeah,
it was very
really by force. I didn't want to
swim.
say it, but it kind of felt by force.
It was.
And social media has affected our industry so much more because we both have experienced this. Yeah. I've had jobs that I've wanted to work, or, that gigs that were literally like about to sign contracts. And, we decided to go with this person because they had 50,000 more followers than you, or 100,000 more followers than you, or
even though it doesn't necessarily translate.
It doesn't translate, and brands have understand and seen this. Like Crystal and I both went to school for this. Like we went to, and I will say the curriculum in college and in universities need to change with the times, but we studied this. Like, it's our craft. It's our career. It's literally what we do. So I sometimes feel like it's a slap in the face when bigger networks and other media entities choose to go with an influencer because of them not wanting to spend marketing dollars behind a commercial to promote someone who's actually skilled in this area.
Yeah. I feel like this is about to be an influencer teardown episode.
No, and I honestly don't want it to be that, because I, as a person who consumes content, I love creating content. I may not, and I'm also working in a space to try to create it in a more, in a space where it feels good, because I also take mental health breaks from social media and don't want to post as much. And I hate that Instagram and TikTok.
What you trying to say about me?
TikTok shadow bans you when you take breaks. Like, I don't like it. But I just think that we come from an interesting background, being that we are in the media space and almost have to create content. I don't want to say to stay relevant, but you have to kind of get with the times. Like before, you could send in your reel and that's enough. Now they want to see your numbers and your insights.
Yeah. Like right now, the conversation is creator versus influencer, but a couple years back for us was entertainment host versus influencer. We need to take these influencers down.
No, not at all.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But like, no, I'm really just kidding.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, again, I think
it's an interesting
conversation, but I think it just does a disservice to everybody because we're just giving brands more power to be like, we're going to go here. But I do want to jump back into the UGC conversation. There's a difference between a UGC creator versus a content creator versus an influencer. And I'll put it like this. An influencer is 100% full-time. A content creator could be about 50%, like part-time, I would say. A content creator is part-time. And a UGC creator is, I want to say like 10%. So like not even part-time, like maybe you a contractor, like they tap you in here and there. And the issue about UGC creators for me is that you honestly affect the income of people who are doing this part-time or even full-time by taking the crumbs that the brands are offering you. And you're honestly giving up everything in terms of like marketing rights, in terms of usage, promotional rights, usage, like that kind of stuff. You're giving up so much and you're saying, oh, it's UGC. I also have a theory that the brands are the ones that are pushing this UGC thing online. Because
it's cheaper. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I'm like,
it's much cheaper.
I've never met anybody that says, I'm a UGC creator. Never met that person.
There are people that put it in I've seen people put it in their bio. I'm never going to do that.
Where they at? Never
Yeah.
met them. I feel like this is a marketing plot. Like
they're trying to shift it. They're trying to,
brands are like,
they're trying to shift the narrative, shake up the atmosphere a little bit.
We've got content creators and influencers, and again, I think those two things are interchangeable.
And I think people work really hard as influencers and content creators, and they need to be paid accordingly by brands because the brands have the funds, and they need to just
absolutely
compensate creators.
Were you upset like hearing, hey, you can't have this role because you don't have the social media numbers, even though you have the skills for it? Absolutely.
I was honestly, I wouldn't say I definitely was disappointed because
I was mad.
When you work hard in your industry and you literally like trying to move up the ladder and get to the next level, it is disheartening to hear that you were upstaged or somebody else got a role because they had larger social numbers than you. Don't get it twisted. Like, it's not easy to get numbers. Some people it's easier, but like, I'm not over here like always doing certain things to go viral. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain ways that people do things to build and grow their numbers. And everybody doesn't necessarily always do that. And if they do, maybe sometimes the algorithm just doesn't tap into their content the way that it should. But I definitely felt a way by hearing that. And I'll be honest, there's been instances where it didn't work out, where said brand have worked with these content creators and influencers and it didn't translate the way that they thought it would, because they thought that the numbers also would equate to viewers, and that doesn't always translate the same. So I think that it's sometimes in certain instances best to hire a professional. And I'm not going to sit here and say that there are influencers or content creators who cannot also do what we do. Like, there are some people that can, but there are definitely a distinct difference when you know you're hiring a professional person who doesn't know how to. But I do feel like in the landscape of creating content, we have been kind of pushed to be creators and influencers simultaneously. Yeah. And I was going to ask you, like, when did you feel that shift in your career? Like, when did you notice that, oh, I need to also be on social media too?
I honestly noticed it very early on, and I used to talk to Naomi all the time about it, and I'm like, yo, like, I feel like I need to do more on social. And honestly, every time I had that conversation, I felt between a rock and a hard place, because half of me was like, I see the future in the social media stuff. And I see that the numbers are what matter. But I'm also in a corporate office with executives and people who are looking at me every single day. And they're also the ones hiring, right? So I was always between a battle of like, what do the brands want? Being this picture perfect person for the brands. But also, because I was so picture perfect, it was almost unrelatable and wasn't able to attain the numbers that I felt like I needed as quick as I needed them. So I personally felt like I was very put between those two things, like being perfect enough for when the brands decide to come versus getting the numbers to make the brands come, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. You actually made me think of a point that I feel like is interesting when it comes from the landscape of like a corporate perspective. So when I worked in the news for the daytime show that I was working and anchoring, I noticed a lot of my peers had 2 social medias. And I honestly never understood that concept, but then I thought about it and I was like, I understand why they feel like they have to do this, because they felt like they couldn't be themselves on their normal platform. And they had to have a separate platform to be the picture perfect person for the actual corporate position. And I feel like I hated that stereotype. Like, I hate that a person can't go out and be social and be themselves, but then also come to work and be professional. Like, I think that people are multidimensional. We're multidimensional. We're human, and we do so many different things, have so many different things that we love to do. And I don't think that ever takes away from like your actual work and what you're capable of. So I always used to like look at that and be like, oh my gosh, like, you have to literally have 2 different identities on something that's supposed to be meant for fun.
Yeah. So because of that, I think in the most recent years, my mindset has been very much, I'm going to get the numbers, and the brands that feel like a line will come. Yeah. And for anybody who is starting out, please do the same. Don't stop yourself from doing something because this brand might call you, that brand might call you, because you're just working on hypotheticals. And the reality is, what you need to gain is people power. Period.
Building your own brand.
Like, you need to build your own community. Like, you need to build your own community. And if you stop yourself from doing this because you feel like that brand might not like it, or don't say that because that brand might like it, what you're really giving up is a group of people that can relate to what you're about to say or what you're about to do.
We have to stop working off of potentials.
Yes.
We have to start.
It's like a man. Like, you can't see the potential in a man.
And it's not actually a physical reality. What it is. If it's not a physical reality right now in this day and age, you cannot pay your bills on potential. I'm going to say it again so you can hear it. You cannot pay your bills on potential. So if you are banking on working with a brand, but that brand is not in your inbox, you need to continue doing what you're doing that's going to make you happy and make people that want to follow you and gravitate towards you continue to tap into what you're doing, continue to support in things that you want to do. And I'm saying this to y'all, but I'm saying it to myself too.
For real.
Literally saying it to myself.
Heavy saying it to yourself because I say it to you all the time. Girl, post it.
I know. Crystal gets on me all the time because I have content just sitting in my recents that hasn't been edited. But you know what? I have this weird thing with social media where I want to be social, but there's times where I also want to be private. Like sometimes I just want to take a break and consume content and not necessarily produce content. And I know as I'm growing as a, on-air host, content creator, an entrepreneur, I have to continue to push my brand out there and be, who I am going to be.
Right.
And you can do that also and be private. So definitely don't feel like you have to juggle the two. You can be private with what you put out and people not know it. But if you want to get into the content creating space, I definitely say just do it. Start. You don't have to have the expensive camera. You don't have to have the tripod. You don't have to have the lights. If you of course want your content to look a certain way, you take the time to invest in what you want to get eventually, but start with what you have.
Yeah.
Create.
I'm really big on using what you have. Use the resources you have right now.
Everyday life, anything that you do that's fun that you want to share with somebody or whatever it is
People
that you
can relate to that. And I think that is the direction social media is going to continue going in, is the relatability.
Yeah.
Like that's why Alex Earl does well, Monet McMichael, because people can relate to them. So like those type of influencers who are also content creators, because those girls, y'all stop playing with Alex Earl and Monet McMichael because they be pumping out content.
They do.
Yeah, they're influencers, but it's because they are content creators. Okay.
That's true.
And they are the next world and generation or trend of influencers because they're pumping out content. Okay. That's why I say they're interchangeable.
That's true.
But I will also say that those girls got numbers that translate into dollars. A lot of people have numbers that don't translate into dollars.
I agree.
And that's also like a different thing. And it's a misconception, right? Like people think, oh my God, I have 1 million followers on Instagram. Like now I should get paid X amount of dollars. No. What does your content look like?
Yeah. And also, I think it's also why are you considered an influencer and how did you get these numbers? Because I think a lot of the times people become influencers based on certain spaces or things that they're, I guess, closely associated with, if that makes any sense.
What do you mean?
So
give it to us straight.
We had a conversation about a creator, and I'm not going to say said creator, but you said creator had an event and some people didn't show up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I think that
said creator.
But
said creator is not a creator. She's an influencer.
Is an influencer based
She's not a content creator
by association. And I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, y'all put up whatever story y'all want to put together, but she know what I mean, and y'all may know what I mean, but that's it. I'm gonna leave that for another day. Period. But I wanted to ask you, like, what would you say in this space as you're growing, right? Because you are growing on TikTok. You have such a huge love for TikTok, and I also have a love for TikTok too. Because if you follow my TikTok, I'm putting stuff like about my dating life, like things on TikTok that I probably would never put on Instagram.
Yep.
I just feel so much more comfortable, and like you said, it's like you're building a community of people that you don't necessarily know that are supporting you. And that's what the internet is about when it relates to social media. It's building a community. It's people who literally look to you and your life to kind of somewhat, in some ways, like take a break from their own life. Some people are stressed. Some people are in situations where they're like, I want to look at this content because it makes me happy, right? Or I want to put this out there because it's healing to me. So when in your opinion, what are some things that have helped you be the content creator that you are to the day, or what tips that you may have for somebody who wants to start out?
I would say don't think too much about it, just post it. And then when you're in your just post it phase, see what works, see what kind of clicks. And then based on what clicks, give more of that. I would still give the other things that you want to give, because at the end of the day, you are the one editing that content. You are the one putting it out. So if you yourself don't like it, it will start to feel like a job. And when you are going into like the content creator and like influencer realm, it's going to feel like a job sometimes, but for the most part, honestly, I personally feel like it shouldn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Like, it really shouldn't feel like a job. And I tell you all the time, Amanda, I'm like, if you don't like the video you're editing, and if you're 10 seconds in and you're like, this is boring, well, baby, I think it's boring too.
Yeah.
And I didn't even watch it yet. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you have to be real with yourself, but you also have to just put it out there. If you like it, that's it. That's all that matters. Put it out there. Somebody else is going to like it. But if you don't like it, don't, it's not organic to you. Yeah. Don't put it out there. That's basically the short version of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the easiest way to like gain a following. Put out there what you genuinely like, because once it clicks, baby, you're going to have to put more content like that out there. Yeah. So if you don't like to cook and now your cooking is clicking, I feel bad for you.
So don't put anything out there that you don't want to click.
No, for sure.
I agree with you 1,000%. I think that things that have done really well with me on social media has been things that I've literally gave no thought to. And it was like, oh, I just liked it and I want to post it. Because other people probably like it and they want to see it too. So the post that you don't have to overthink, for sure, definitely share that. But I also want to take it a step further. I think if I'm giving any tips to someone that's trying to come up in content creating and become a person who has influence, or, you know, have influence in the process of being a content creator, I think it's cool to do the trends. I think trends definitely help you grow. But I also think it's cool to like break the barrier and like come up with something new, or like come up with an idea that you don't see. Like, create content that you don't necessarily see. Because I think that, to Crystal's point, you're going to have a community that like comes to you for that specific thing. Like, there's specific people on social media who created like certain trends based on who they were, being their authentic self. So I think it's very important to like go beyond the norm. Like, if you don't have to do dancing videos. You don't have to do trending audio. If you want to just like do something that's organic, exactly, to you, create your own crazy, cool content that someone gravitates towards. And I think that you'll win. Yeah. And if it's literally your platform.
I agree. But I think the whole content creator versus influencer conversation needs to stop, because they're interchangeable. And honestly, the future of content creating and influencing in general are going to continue to be interchangeable if you want to be influential.
Absolutely. So I was going to ask you TikTok versus Instagram, but I already know your answer.
TikTok.
Yeah.
It's just, we're having fun over here.
Having fun?
That's it. Yep. We have personality. We're having fun. We have a sense of humor. Well, sometimes, because I'm posting stuff on TikTok and people get really upset. Like, I just posted a Sephora. That's one thing that I'm going to have to like not go back and forth with
comments in the comments.
But that's hard, because then I have girls in my comments who are like, we love you. And I'm like, baby, I love you too. You know? So like, I'm not skipping over the girls who want to show love for the haters. You get what I'm saying? I'm going to just have to filter them through them all and put my New York skin on. That's it. But yeah,
do it for the ones who love you.
Do it for the ones who love you. But yeah, TikTok is definitely my go-to. I would just like for the conversation to stop, because nobody wins when the family feuds.
Yeah, I agree. I really do. I agree with it stopping, because I think that you kind of bring something to a brand's attention that doesn't necessarily need to be brought.
Yeah.
I think we all are influencing in some capacity, in some way. I just think we're just having a good time. We're using social media to kind of disconnect from all the atrocities happening in the world, honestly. Like, there's so much happening. And that's something else I wanted to say as well. Like, I somewhat go between feeling guilty for putting out content when there's so much there's so much negativity.
No, there's so much real stuff, real problems happening
in the world outside of where we live. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, on one hand, I'm like, I want to put out this content because it makes me happy, but I'm so sad because this is not the reality for so many other people.
Right. And here we are sitting, talking, fighting about content creator versus influencer when there are people literally dying every single day.
Yeah, literally. So my heart goes out to like just everyone in the world that's not experiencing peace right now, because it's definitely a devastating thing. And I don't mean to like bring it or somber it down, but I'm just more so saying it to be, you know, real about like how I feel about when it relates to
the
like
climate of the world
climate of
right
the world
now.
when it relates to content. So I say that to say, like, whatever you put out in the world and makes you happy, if you're looking back on it 5 years from now and you can still smile at that, do it.
I love that. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to our episode 6. And we are officially halfway through the season. Season 2, we're going to give y'all weeklies. But for right now, we're going to finish off bi-weekly. But we just really want to thank you guys for sticking with us, supporting, posting on social, subscribing to our YouTube. And make sure y'all tune into the next episode of Elevators.
Yes. Thank you for showing us love. If you like it, share with a friend, repost, comment. We love seeing the comments.
Tell a friend.
And until next time, friends, continue to elevate. We love you guys.
Bye.